All right, good evening, fifth graders. Tonight we're going to be working with some positive and some negative numbers. When we're doing this, I want you to think, it's a nice way to think about money, okay? If you have money, you have positive money. If you spent your money, you're kind of in the negative, right? You don't have that money anymore. So it's a nice way to think about money in that aspect, okay? Here's some thoughts here. Account balances, it's the current total value of an account. So if you have a bank account, um, it, that's the amount of money you have in that account, okay? Debt, amount you owe. So if you are in debt to somebody, that means you owe them money. So let's say you borrow some money from your mom or your dad. You are in debt to them because you owe them that money back if they are looking for that money in return, okay? So if we're dealing with counters here, if we're in the black, that means there's more cash in an account than there are debts. So if you're in the black, that means you have more money than less. And if you're in the red, that means you owe more money. Okay, so keep that in mind here when you're dealing with black and red. Here's some ideas down here at the bottom of this page. It says you take 5 black and 2 red counters. What does this show? So watch here. So if I have 5 black, I'm going to make these positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 red counters. I want to know how much money is in Jane's account. So this is how I want you to do this tomorrow in class. For every negative and positive, they cancel each other out, okay? So let's say I have $1, but then I borrow $1. So I have $1, and then I spent the dollar. They cancel each other out, right? So if you have the dollar and you spend it, so then you have to take away $1, you're still at 0. Another thing here, so I'll have another positive. I'm going to cross out a negative. So every time you cross out a positive, you have to cross out a negative. Every time you cross off a negative, you have to cross off a positive. So what is in Jane's account? Has 3 black, or 3 in the positive. Let's take a look at this next one. There's 8 red counters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 3 black counters. Okay. So another way to look at this is, let's say Jane went to the mall and spent $8. Okay. She only had $3, so that means she would be negative $5. Do you understand how that would work? Another way you could show your work, you can cancel this off. For every positive, you cross off a negative. Positive, negative, a positive, and a negative. So what are we left with? We're left with negative 5. Some more practice here we'll be working with here. So I have positive and negative counters up there in the top right corner, so I want you to follow along. Jane's $4 has $4 in cash and no debts. So if she has no debts or debits, there would be no negatives. So she has 4 positives. Okay. Suppose Jane earns $3 and adds this to her account. How many counters does she show? So she has the 4, so we're adding 3 to it. And then I already had an existing 4, right? So should be 3 plus 7, right? What is in Jane's account balance? We have a plus 7. What would the number model look like? Well, we started with 4, and then we added 3. So we have a positive 7, okay? Let's take a look at this next problem here. Jane has $8 in cash and no debts. Show this account balance with the counters. We have 8 here. 4. So when you have no debts, you don't have to add any negatives to it, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Suppose Jane borrows $5. Use the counters to show this. So she borrows $5. So she had 8, and she had to borrow 5. So I'm going to take these 8 so I don't have to drag them all again. One, two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Borrowed 5, so that means we're in the negative. -5. Okay. So what would her amount, her account balance be? So if I cross off a negative, cross off a positive, negative, or a positive and a negative, negative and a positive, a negative and a positive, negative and a positive. That means her account balance would be left at a +3. This is what the number model looks like, kids. We'd have a +8, right? A +8 plus a -3. Okay. You're going to be seeing some problems that look like this tomorrow in class. So if you have a +8, then you take away a -3, you're left with a +5. Okay. There's going to be some more problems here. Let's take a look at these here. So I have 9 plus a -6. I'm going to show it with the counter so you can kind of make sense of it, but it's really pretty basic, okay? So I have a +9, so if I have 9 counters here, I have 9 positives, 6 negatives. So if I cross off these 3, cross off these 3, cross off these 3, cross off these 3, I'm left with 3 positive. My answer would be 3. Another way to look at this, kids, and this is how I always teach this concept. Take a look at the two numbers. You have a 9 and you have a 6. Which number is bigger, 9 or 6? 9 on a number scale, 9 is always larger than 6, okay? The 9 is positive. So when you're crossing these things out, you're going to be left with a positive number. So you're going to go 9 minus 6, you're going to get a +3. For example, let's look at letter B here. We have a -6 plus a +5. So what this means, let's go back to those money terms, is let's say you spent $6 at the mall. You only had $5. You spent 6, you only have 5. So you know that you spent more than you had. Another way to look at it is this 6 is bigger than 5 on a normal scale. But the 6 here is negative. So what that is telling me, kids, is this answer has got to be negative. Your answer here is -1. And it's pretty simple. You have 5 positives. So if you cross off the 5 positives, you have to cross off 5 negatives, which means you're left with only 1, which would be -1. So take a look at this one down here. We have a -3 plus a -3. So let's say you go to the mall or you go to Burger King and you spend $3, and then your friend wants to buy something, he doesn't have any money, and spends another $3. So technically you are both in the negative, and you're at -6. Because you have a negative number plus another negative number, you're just going further in the hole. Does that make sense, kids? So just keep that in mind. Because if you're on a number line, you're going -3, and then you add another -3, you're never really adding any positive money to it. So you just keep on getting more in the negative, okay? It's kind of like this. I'm going to show you a couple more here. Let's go 7 plus 7. You have $7, you make 7 more dollars, you're at 14. Okay? Let's go 2 plus 5. Very basic. That equals 7. You have 2. And now you add another +5. That puts you at 7. Now let's say I have a -2 plus a 5. So I spent $2, but then I have 5. So that means I'd be left with this -2 would cross off 2 of the positive, which would leave me with 3 for an answer. Here's another one. Let's say I have a -10 plus a -5. So I'm -10 in the hole, and then I'm adding another -5 to it, which puts me at -15. Let's go 4 minus or plus a -3. I have a +4. I'm wiping away a -3. So I'm taking 3 away from the +4, and I'm left with a 1. Okay, you're going to be doing a lot of practice with this tomorrow. So in case if it doesn't completely make sense right now, I'll explain it more in class tomorrow, but this is just the basic concept of what we're doing tomorrow. We start off pretty simple. You might be dealing with bigger numbers tomorrow, like let's say you have a -35 plus 8. Okay, what's the answer? Well, we know 35 is bigger than 8, right? So it would be a negative number. And then now I'm still in the hole, right? But I have +$8. So my +$8 are going to be taken away from this 35. So I'll just technically be subtracting this. So I have a 27, so my answer would be a negative 27. So it's the same exact concept, kids, but it's just going to be bigger numbers. So just keep in mind, so if you're this far in the negative, your answer is going to be negative. But if I do the opposite, now my answer is still 27, but it's going to be a positive 27 because I'm starting off big in the positives. I have $35, I spent $8, so now I'm with $27. All right, hopefully this helped a little bit. I know the video got a little bit longer, but it's really important for you to understand this positive and negative number, how to add them, how to or just how to add a positive and negative number with each other so you can understand the concept between it. Hopefully this helped. I look forward to working with you in class tomorrow.